Right, here we are again, folks. Ringwood Manor, formerly called back in the early 1900s when it was built. In 1900, home of the Ryerson family, built by Arthur Ryerson. 1900. Arthur Ryerson was a steel magnate from Chicago. He had a home here, built in 1900, like I said. He and his wife, Emily, they had 5 children. One of the children, Arthur Jr., was killed in a car accident, an automobile accident, I guess you would call it, in 1912 on April 8th. So the family was in France at the time, and they needed to get home, of course, to make arrangements for his funeral and his burial and everything. So they made arrangements to get on the first ship they could from Cherbourg, France, which happened to be the RMS Titanic, owned by the White Star Line. Well, everybody knows the story of the Titanic. It sunk on the night of April 14th, early morning of April 15th. Arthur Ryerson did not survive the sinking. The father, his wife Emily, daughter Suzette, daughter Emily, and his son John survived the sinking. And they came back here and lived here for a few years. And then Emily Jr. got married to a man named George Clark, who was the inheritor of Hyde Hall over here on the western side of Otsego Lake. And they were married at the Episcopal Church. I'm sorry, not the Episcopal Church. The Episcopal Church owned this land later on, but they were married in the Christ Church down in Cooperstown, Emily and George. And they had their wedding reception here at Ringwood, as it was called at the time. So a lot of history up here in Cooperstown between the Ryersons, the Clarks, Hyde Hall, the RMS Titanic. All these historical facets all weave together into much history in this area. So it's a beautiful home here. It's in disrepair, of course. It hasn't been used in a while. Quite a few years after they used it as a retreat center. So it's in private property, private hands right now. It's a peeling here in the kitchen, and so it's in private property hands now. The private owners have it, and I have permission from them to be here today, filming and photographing for my historical endeavors. Beautiful historic Ringwood Manor in the beautiful community on the north end of Otsego Lake. Ringwood in Springfield, New York. The Ryerson home, Ringwood, built in 1900. Cooperstown's full of history, full of echoes. Love this. So you're not interested in history, folks? A lot of history up here in Cooperstown. Local history, world history, of course, is tied in with the Titanic disaster. Beautiful craftsmanship here built into these homes, stairwells, the balusters. So signing off from Ringwood Manor in beautiful Springfield, New York. All right, forgive my screw-ups here, folks. Springfield, New York. Ryerson home, Ringwood, 1900.